As far as professions, you all went different directions. You're in law enforcement, you're in medicine. So what was your training before to get into the police work?
Well, I guess my ambition came from Uncle Arnie, you know, being the sheriff in the 60s. And our grandfather, whether he was sheriff, his dad, Alec Perry.
So how long were they sheriff?
And, well, see, back in those days, there were only 2-year terms, and they were limited to 3 terms.
Okay.
So there were term limits. So you could only be sheriff if you won every election for 6 years total. And you could sit out and then come back and run. And there's a couple of sheriffs throughout the history of Loudoun County that did that. Freeman Russell being one of them.
Okay.
But he kind of gave me the I don't know, the idea of helping people and things. And I remember on summer vacations, I might ride with him in his patrol car. And then I got off of that out of high school and got wild and went down to Georgia and lived with our oldest brother Bobby for a little while, and then worked at General Motors. And I thought, well, and there was a big layoff down there, and they took 25 years seniority to hang on. So I thought, I'm going back home and I'm going to run for sheriff someday. And I was about, and Bud was just about ready to start his practice. Started to renovate the house down here on Mulberry, and to be his first office, and I helped them do that. And then I worked over here at building Tate Lyle. I was a ditch digger for a little while, and I decided, but before all that though, I had went to ETSU for a couple of years, and this isn't for me, type thing. But so I just thought, well, I'm going to do what I said I came back to do, and luckily timing is everything. I was able to get in law enforcement, work in the jail first in early 1983, and in late '83 I was fortunate enough to get on with the Lenoir City Police Department, and from there got my academy training and other types of training, and I was foolish maybe at a young age in 1990 to run for sheriff, but I did, and I was very, very blessed and fortunate to win.
So you finished in 32 years of it?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
That's just it's all just a humbling experience.
Yeah, 32 years. We'll get more into the positives of the job.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, after high school, I went to Tennessee Tech to undergraduate. Again, majored in biology. There's a little story to that. That's really a God thing. When I got out of high school, I applied for every scholarship I could get. Our family wasn't in a position to finance college, really. But I wanted to go to college, and I applied for multiple scholarships, and just didn't get anything. And it was coming time to make a decision one way or the other. So I said, I think what I need to do is join the Navy. And I'll go to the Navy. My plan was to go to the Navy for 4 years and then come out on the GI Bill and go to college. So that's what I did. I went to the Navy. Well, I I started doing it. Went to the naval recruiter, talked to him. I had it pretty much all lined up that I was going to join the Navy. I don't even know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
He said, I'll be at your house Saturday morning, we'll sign the papers. You'll have to have your mom there and this, that, and the other. Because I wasn't even 18 at the time. When I graduated from high school, I was still 17. And I said, okay, we'll have everybody here sign. And he was supposed to be at the house about 10 o'clock, I think, on Saturday morning to finalize that deal. And I just happened to go out on the front porch to get the mail that very morning. As he was pulling in the driveway, I was going out to meet him, and the mailbox was right there on Aunt Leah's front porch. I reached in and got the mail. He's parked in the driveway, and I look at the mail, and there's a letter there to me from Tennessee Tech. And I invite him in, we sit down, and I said, I need to look at this letter. Can you give me just a second? He said, yeah. So I opened the letter, and there was a work scholarship opportunity there. Wasn't much, but you can work. We'll give you this much money, but you have to work so many hours, this, that, and the other. And this naval recruiter, is sitting in our living room. And I've got to make some kind of decision right then. So I tell him that I need to study on this a little bit. Can we put this off for a while? And he was very understanding. And he said, sure, just let me know what your decision is. And then after he left, that was, I decided to go to Tennessee Tech. That was just enough to get me there. I'm sorry if I'm too long-winded here. So my path could have been a total different way had I not reached in that mailbox that very morning. So I always look back at that as a true God thing.
Sure.
For sure.
I would have to say the same thing. My life is just everything has been, and that was just a timing thing too. You know,
Yeah.
it had timing. I mean, what would if you hadn't? You know, but we. I don't know if you're going to get into family or not.
Just whatever you want to bring in.
Well, go ahead. We'll just let you guys. But I just want to say that God, my life's been nothing but surprises and good fortune.
And me as well. Yeah, we got to finish the education part of this thing.
Go right ahead.
Well, I went to Tennessee Tech, graduated from Tennessee Tech, and was lucky enough to get accepted to medical school. Went to medical school at the University of Tennessee Center for Health Sciences in Memphis. Finished medical school there, and then did my pediatric residency at the University of Louisville. 3-year residency there, and then came back to Loudon in 1980. Always knew I wanted to be a pediatrician. I mean, from day one, it wasn't a lot of my friends, what field am I going to? It never was an issue for me.
Why do you think you wanted to go?
I'm not exactly sure. We have lots of cousins and nieces and nephews, and as we grew up, we were always, when I was young, there was always younger kids around us, and same age kids, and older as well. But I just always enjoyed being around the younger ones for some reason. Seemed to get along well with them, and I don't even know I knew exactly what a pediatrician did, but I knew was involved in children. And that was never an issue for me. And it was never an issue for me where I wanted to practice. I mean, it was very clear that I wanted to come back to Loudon, Tennessee. And I'll share another God thing. When I mentioned earlier that Van Helms and I had talked in the 3rd grade about going to medical school together and being roommates. Well, again, we both got accepted at the same time, and I get a phone call from Jim Blair, who was a county commissioner at the time. Right after I graduated from college, again, had been accepted to medical school, but hadn't gone yet. There was like a 3 or 4 week lag period between graduation and starting medical school. And he calls me and said, I'd like for you to come to the next county commission meeting. We've invited Van Helms as well. Didn't tell us why, didn't have a clue. So we both scratching our head, wondering whether they want us to come to a county commission meeting. So we go, we're sitting there, and the commission says, we'd like to pay you guys way through medical school. We understand you've both been accepted, and we'd like to pay your way through. Now, I had been, how I was going to pay through medical school, I didn't know. But my plan was just to borrow the money,
Sure.
Which is what most people did.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there looking at each other in shock and said, we have a deal to offer you, and that deal is if we'll pay your way through medical school if you'll return to Loudoun County to practice each year that we pay for your medical school training. And if you decide not to come back to Loudoun County, you just have to pay the money back. And at the time, interest rates were like unbelievable. They were like 18 and 20% interest. You just have to pay the money back at 3% interest. So it was no, I mean, another God thing.
Yeah, that doesn't happen, does it?
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. So they paid our way through medical school. I mean, the full thing, everything. Tuition, room, board, everything, 100%. And so when I got out of medical school, I which is unheard of, I was debt free basically. I owed a little money to Tennessee Tech. I did owe them a little money. I actually owed them $1,100. Paid them back reasonably quick, but for the most part, debt free. And I decided to come back, and it was a no-brainer for me because that was my plan anyhow. Van decided to go elsewhere, and he just paid his back. So, to my knowledge, that had never happened before then or since then. And I owe this county a whole lot more